Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second Q&A. We're trying to get this slated on this channel. We're probably will end up doing it regularly on Wednesday. That's been a consensus so far. We're going to do it on Wednesday and then basically on demand as time goes. Hey, Cremo M, how you doing? Welcome. We're basically going to treat it like what I call a subscriber hangout and a place where you can come and ask questions about cycling. Of course, we'll welcome all the super chats we can get to support the channel, but I'm taking advantage of this because YouTube finally rolled out the addition of a webcam. They've had the ability to do live streams, but you had to use third-party software. And recently they rolled out their own built-in webcam, which makes it very easy. The third-party software, the problem was there was a lot of lag time. So you'd say something and then 15 seconds later, you'd see it on the screen. And it was just a drag. So I had tested it and just really didn't like the performance. And so this way, by doing it with their webcam, you don't have to worry about your bandwidth issues and so forth, slowing things down. So I'm able to reply to questions and so forth as close to real time as possible. That's why I call it, last night when I did it, I called it a beta testing, even though it's been available, but they didn't have the ability to use your own webcam within YouTube. You had to stream through external software. So I'm still familiarizing myself with it, but it's been a quick study. Hello, Fit to Cycling. Glad you could make it. This time appears to be really good between 12 and 12:30. So I'm thinking we'll make it a staple to start on Wednesdays. And somebody mentioned yesterday's hump days. It will be a good situation where if you've got a ride coming up and you've got questions and so forth, we can kind of help you get ready for your weekend and also answer questions from the weekend before. So we're going to schedule it to do it mostly on Wednesdays. So we'll have a live stream on a regular basis. It's just a good feature I think will be good for the channel and all you guys out there. Yesterday's was very successful for the first try. At the end of it, I was still getting questions. And so I basically referred some people to this one today, just to let them know to finish up the beta testing. And then we're going to roll into doing it every Wednesday. And it's been recorded as well. So those who can't join, it loads it as a regular video on the channel for people to keep up. Ended up being a little over 2 hours yesterday. So I was very surprised it went that long. So I brought some stuff to drink today just in case it goes on. So what I wanted to ask, since we don't have a question right now, for those of you on here, I tried to create a channel that was different than all the other ones out there instead of doing what everybody does. The way I do the group rides, a lot of people ask, hey, Eric, why don't you mount the camera? And the reason I don't mount the camera is everybody mounts the camera. And then you've got, hey, Robert, glad you could join us. This is going to be about the time between noon and 12:30, Robert, that we're going to be doing it. Hey, Peter, we're going to be doing this on Wednesdays. That will be the staple to start. And then if we have a need, maybe we'll do another Sunday evening from time to time. But what I was explaining before you got here, Robert, the reason why I called it a beta is YouTube has had this feature, but they did not have the ability for you. Hey, Kevin, they did not have the ability for you, Peter. Hi. They did not have the ability for you to use your own webcam through YouTube. You had to use external software, then stream to YouTube. Suresh from the land down under, welcome. Hey, Pevalo 35. So now that YouTube just added what they call a webcam feature, so now I can do everything in YouTube. There is no lag time. With the external software, if your bandwidth wasn't super fast, you had a lot of delay. So it was kind of, it's nice that they have this. So we're going to be doing this, Suresh and the rest of you guys, Wednesdays around noon Central Time. For you guys in Australia, it's probably the next day, I guess. I'd have to look on my phone to see. So I think it's the next day over there. You guys are on the other side of the world. Let's see, Adelaide, 5:10 a.m. Okay. So I don't know if you're in Adelaide or not. Melbourne is 5:40. So about the same. So 5 a.m. the next morning. Okay. So you have to get up early. So we're thinking 12:30, 12:30. We'll be doing this. Yeah. So that's a good time. But basically, what this is about is if you have questions about your upcoming rides and other things, just all things cycling. Belgium, Cremo. Oh, I was just watching a race in Belgium. I think the UCI World Cup had a cyclocross race yesterday. Here's Suresh. Cyclocross. There was a guy named Van der Poel. I think Michael. He rode away from everybody. He made them look like club cyclists. It was just amazing to watch. And he didn't seem to be working very hard. Yeah, Matthew. Yeah. I watched it yesterday live in the morning on the Olympic channel in the Netherlands. Okay, PM also. The Velo 35. Yeah, it was good to watch. The second guy, I think it was named Van Aert. Van Aert came in like within, I think, 24, 25 seconds behind. But man, it was just impressive to watch those guys ride in that dirt like they did. It was just something that's like an hour's effort, just going hard for an hour. It's basically just an all-out effort because you're basically just riding on your own. I mean, you may be close to somebody, but everybody's just going hard. So it was impressive to see. Full gas. There you go. That's it. I think they had something else. After that? They had something in Austria. I think it was the Luge. I watched that. My wife thought I was crazy. She's like, "Why are you watching that?" I told her, I said, "These guys have to train for this stuff." So I just appreciate the work that goes into getting yourself in top condition. But yesterday we started this on the channel and it was very successful. So we're going to be doing Audrey Van der Poel. Okay. So he's got the pedigree then. Yeah, he's for real. I looked him up. He's been winning a lot of stuff. I think he won like 3 races recently in a row. So he rode away from the field. Just did his own race. It was just something it was impressive. Something to see. Audrey Van der Poel. I remember that name. I think he's related to this guy, Poo Poo. What's his name? I did a historical video on him. Oh gosh. The Eternal Second. I think he's related to him somehow through marriage or something. Either his dad is related somehow. Yeah, Polydor. Yeah. The Eternal Second. That guy was impressive. He was always there. Raymond Polydor. Yeah. The family. I mean, I think there was another guy with the name D. Van der Poel that was also in the race. His grandfather. Okay. Yeah, it's just nice to see these guys with such a good pedigree because he made it look easy. It wasn't easy, but he made it look easy. You have to keep that effort up for those guys not to catch up because everybody was going full gas. It's just impressive because you got bike handling, you got sand and all kinds of stuff. David, okay. David was in the race also. I believe I saw his name on the ticker. And then the world champion was 24 seconds or so behind, I believe, Van Aert. So it was just something. I mean, yeah, it was a good race. It was a beautiful day in Belgium. Everybody, it was a cool day. You could tell all the spectators. I noticed at the end of the race, all these guys were drinking beer. They showed them at on the side drinking beer. I was like, oh, okay. So this will be a staple in the middle of the week. We're going to do this to kind of answer questions, whether they come from existing videos or questions you might have, because I think that it will get a good connection on the channel besides the normal videos that won't change. We're going to do a group ride this weekend as usual. Since we didn't do one this last weekend because of the holiday and everything I had going on, I decided to just do this morning to talk about just anything cycling. So if there's anything pressing on your mind, let me know as we go, and I will just try to tackle. You ride Saturday 2C. Oh my goodness. I hope you stay dry because when it's cold and wet like that, you've got to really wrap up and get a good rain cape. How long did you ride for, Cremo? Cremo, I believe. 2C under the rain. I give you credit. You are a cyclist. Difficult to stay dry. Yeah, you're right. You're definitely a cyclist. 70 kilometers. Well, good for you. Good for you. 2C under the rain. When we do that here, even though it's not 2C, let's say it will be about, I've done it in 4 to 7C. Most of our very cold days here is around 4C or higher. We don't get very cold very frequently, but people look at us like we're nuts. And we literally, I've had a driver at an intersection one time who were riding in the rain, and the driver said, "You guys are crazy to be out here." And my reply was, "It keeps the doctors away." And then he smiled as he drove off. I figured he would get that, because we look like we're crazy because most people think that if the weather is challenging, you should not be out there, which doesn't make sense because I see people running, jogging, even when it's raining, although that's different. The speeds are different. But yeah, for cycling around here, you'd be hard pressed to find a group ride if it's wet. It doesn't matter what the temperature is, but we head out, rain or shine, because you have to keep consistent. Once you fall off the bike, somebody on here last night said that once they miss a week, they're not motivated to get back on the bike. It's kind of hard when you've been off for a while, Yes, Bruce said it's cold when you ski. You got that right. I think I mentioned that in one of my videos where I said nobody skis in 75-degree temperature. Any suggestion for winter training, doing solo ride? Unfortunately, I do not have a group to ride with. Yeah, during the winter, I only do one group ride, Rich. As far as during the winter, you want to keep good tempo. You don't need to go slow, but you don't want to go full gas. You want to go kind of sweet spot or lower. In other words, you want to go at a tempo that you can hold for the entire day. That's building your base for winter training because you don't want to peak during the winter. So what you need to do is just ride steady, work on endurance for your aerobic capacity as well as endurance for your muscles. So to work on endurance for your muscles, you want to vary your cadence. So you want to use lower cadence. A lot of times, if you have no knee problems and your bike is fitted correctly, I always recommend 50 to 60 RPMs in intervals for what I call big gear intervals. It will get you up to like tempo zone, but you won't be going full gas and your cadence will be low. It's best to do it against the wind or up a hill so that you build those strength, 3 to 5 minutes intervals and vary that. Then during the rest period, go back to your normal cadence so you don't forget that. That's really good for the winter because you want to come out of the winter strong. That's what those guys do for cyclocross. They build strength. To ride in the dirt, you have to have strong legs. Let's see. I think of myself as being reasonably hardy, right down to around -7, but that would be a bit, -7C. Ariel Atom 68. Ariel Atom, that is a car. That is a car. That's a special car that I've seen. It's really quick. Ariel Atom. I think that's what you mean. I've never seen that name. So I wouldn't go down to -7C. We don't get days like that. If it's -7C, I'm not going outside. That's just too cold. Because my wife will just think I'm totally out of it. You're miserable. Your skin gets cold. You have to wear balaclava and all of that. And on the bike, you just so much wind chills. So Rich said, I have plenty of hills in East Tennessee. Yeah, use the hills to make you strong, Rich. Put it in a gear, drop your cadence, and do some short intervals to where your legs burn, and then recover at your regular cadence. You don't have one. Yeah, I read about the Ariel Atom. It's a very special car, very quick. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. It's unique. So, it's an open air car, but just doesn't look like anything out there. Breaks all the rules. Yeah. So, Rich, you definitely. I use the hills in the winter to make my legs strong, but keep my tempo reasonable, meaning sweet spot or lower. Sweet spot is the point between tempo and zone 4. It's almost like a sustainable rate without, you don't feel like you're going too hard, but you're working. And you feel like you can sustain that for about maybe hour and a half. That's an hour and a half pace. It's a very comfortable pace, but it's above endurance and tempo. It's hard to identify that spot. It's as you cross over into zone 4, the bottom of zone 4. Nowhere near threshold, but above tempo. That's where you want to train it. As you put those cadences down and go up a hill or into the wind, your heart rate will get there, but you're not going to feel gassed because you're using more of your muscular power. Don't do that too much and forget about working on going back to your cadence when you recover. Otherwise, you will forget about your snap. That's the kind of stuff Victor does on our group ride. He'll ride in one gear all day long. I don't do that. That's just too long. He says in Europe, a lot of cyclists turn to mountain biking in the wintertime. Here too, as well. I don't own a mountain bike currently, but I used to use that. A lot of people do cyclocross here and mountain biking. Some of the guys will even take their mountain bikes to the cyclocross race. Christian, that rides with us periodically, does that. How long have I been cycling? Wow, very long time. Since I was a teenager, so let's see. But cycling seriously since 1988. Seriously meaning I had a coach, I had a periodic training plan, and then I went and competed. So from 1988 to 2002, I raced. That's so from 88, so about 33 years, something like that, 32. Let's see. 88 to 18, 30 years, I guess. About 30 years seriously cycling. But as a kid, I rode bikes everywhere. You know, I had one of those BMX bikes that we rode everywhere. Let's see. Have you tried standing intervals? If so, what do you think of them? Standing intervals. What do you mean when you say standing intervals, Ariel Atom? Standing intervals. Oh, you're talking about not seated on the bike. If that's what you mean, I only do that at the end of my hill intervals when I'm finishing the hill. But, you know, I don't really particularly train to stand. I mean, like riding out of the saddle without a break for 3+ minutes. I don't do intervals where I'm riding out of the saddle for extended periods of time. I've had to do that once on a ride where my saddle broke a long time ago. I used to ride one of these fancy, they used to call them Cell Italia flight saddles, and it broke on a ride. And for 45 minutes, I couldn't sit. Paul also had to do that on one of his rides a few years ago where his seat post holder broke and he rode out of the saddle. But I don't specifically go out and train out of the saddle. What I do is when I do my hill intervals, I finish the climb out of the saddle. It's okay to ride out of the saddle if you find that you prefer it for your body type. But for me, I do it for very short periods because I find that my body is not as efficient when I'm standing out of the saddle. I recruit more muscles, so my heart rate goes up. I burn more calories. So I don't do that for long periods. It's not my most efficient way. Now, if you're a lighter guy or you're a climber, it may work for you. Kind of like the rider Alberto Contador. He said he used to do it for like 20 minutes when he was training. That's just something he found to naturally work for him. There was another rider, Pantani, who would attack in the drops on the hills. I don't do that. It just, if I tried to do that, my legs seem to fill up. But that seemed to work for Pantani. It seemed to suit him. I tend to attack holding the hoods if I'm out of the saddle. He seemed to do it. So you got to find what works for you. If that works for you, great. But I don't see, for me, I wouldn't train that way. That's not my most efficient position. Let's see here. Hey, training cyclists, welcome. I prefer riding seated. That's why I like doing that every once in a while. Yes, yeah, like you. For me, I'm a big guy. I'm let's see, 87 kilos. about 190 pounds. That's about where I am most of the time. So when I stand, I use more energy. So I only do it if I'm sprinting or I'm closing a gap to get a big gear rolling. Yeah, then doesn't matter, 10, 15 seconds, burst, sit, continue. But to do it extended for an extended period, it's not efficient for me. So yeah, but it's good to be able to stand because I stand during the ride to stretch my back or just change the way I'm using my muscles when I'm climbing. I don't exclusively stay seated, but I'm not going to stand any longer than maybe 20 to 30 seconds, if that. Let's see here. El Pirata. Yeah, Real Feel. That's my man. There will never be another pirate. He had what I call panache. I used to love watching him. They knew he was going to attack, and there was nothing they could do about it. VH, I'm going to change my bar tape myself for the first time. Any tips? So that's Shinapa. We have a video just for you, my brother. Let me see. Let me find the link. It will save you some time. I did a video that gives you everything you need. And of course, I know you have the patience because you're on this channel. I did it to where it's a comprehensive video on wrapping your bar tape from a professional perspective. Let's see. Let's go to video manager. I'm just going to do bar. I'm going to search for it for you. Suresh is one of our ardent supporters. I moved the mic away. You may not hear me very well. Oops. There we go. Let me find this video. And all I did, Suresh, was I went on the channel and just searched the video on the channel page. And I searched on the bar tape and it showed up. It's one of our popular videos. Let me get the link and put it on here. And this will give you everything you need to know how to wrap, because I cover why you wrap in what direction. That's for you there, Suresh. That's the video you need. Let's see. Hi, everyone. Hello. Do you spin or grind on 7% upgrades? Barnaby Flores. No, I spin. Well, you see, spinning is relative. Anytime you're pedaling, you're really spinning because it's the motion. But I know what you mean. No, I don't go below 70 RPMs because my legs will tighten up. That's what I found for me. And for most riders, because you just can't get the nutrients to the muscles. If it's a 7% climb and it's long, I will spin 70 or higher. If it's short, I'll just power over it. Like we call a sprinter's bump. That's the way I handle those. High VH, for someone who has never done intervals before, what frequency, tempo, or recovery times would you suggest? Yeah, I kind of paused there because even the plans that I build on the website that people buy, I specify intervals, but it's something that you grow with. So you need to ask yourself, what's your goal? If you want to just be able to do something for, let's say, a half a kilometer, you start there, however long that takes you. So let's say, for example, you want to do 30 seconds. And I'm going to give you a process, and you can build on that if you want to put your own plans together, or you can kind of look at one of our plans. But here's the way to approach it. Don't limit yourself. All intervals is that I'm going to do something I don't do all the time. So I'm going to try to see how long I can do this for. So let's say if you normally ride at, I'm going to use cadence. Say you normally ride at 80 RPMs and you say, I want to be able to do 95 RPMs. Well, the first time you try it, you're not going to be able to do it for the whole ride. We know that. If you can only do that for 10 seconds at 95 RPM, because that's a goal. That's the reason you do intervals, to get to a goal. If you can only do it for 10 seconds, you start with that. But you do those 10 seconds in good form. You're not thrashing. You're not twisting your back. You look easy. You look like you're doing it easy, like that Vanderpool guy did in the ride we were talking about. You want to be smooth. Do the intervals for as long as you can stay smooth as at the cadence. The reason I'm using cadence, because speed is cadence maintained for the distance. So if you want to get to 95 RPMs in whatever gear you can accomplish that in, you get up to that and see how long you can stay there the first time. Then when the speed starts to drop, as soon as the cadence starts to drop, the interval is over, because you don't want to teach your body to go slower. That's not your goal. So you stop and you go back to the cadence you can handle. So let's say it's 80. You go back to 80, you rest. The next time you come, you might be able to do more than 15 seconds, and you start nudging it up from there. That's all intervals are. But you want to end that workout, the entire session, feeling like, I could do another 15 seconds. Don't you do the workout feeling like you wiped out. Do it to the point where you got something left and save it for the next workout. I don't believe in working out to failure per se. Don't leave it worked out the first time. And believe it or not, you get enough recovery. The next time, you may be able to start the first interval at 20 seconds and you build from there. That's the whole point of riding every day. That's the reason I've been able to ride all these years and I'm still not bored. You always got to do more while your body will get used to it, and then you will improve. You got to continue to push yourself. So look at it that way. So you create your own durations. If your goal is to ride fast for 10 minutes, and that's what you want, that's your goal, start with 30 seconds, 1 minute interval until you build up to where you can do 10 minutes at the speed you want to do it at. That's what it is. And then once you get there, you set new goals. The challenge is how to get there, and you can't just do intervals all the time. You have to do your base training and your long rides, and that's what I talk about, structure. It's not one thing. Intervals will make you faster, but you got to have something to build on with those intervals. So you can't start doing intervals as a base. Start just riding your bike, and an interval would be the next time you kick to run away from a dog or kick to go through a light. Let's see here. Thanks for the answer. This is great group dynamic you started. Okay, I appreciate that, Barnaby. I'm glad that the answer worked. We're going to be doing this every Wednesday. I think it's a good feature. I like it for two reasons. It connects me with you guys, and I'm always going to be like this. Somebody, D in DC, asked, he said, I've seen the channel grow from 500 to 9,000 users now. You know, what's your plan and this and that? And I told him, it's going to be the same thing, but on steroids, because I'm always going to be improving. That's just my personality. I don't know how to rest. I'm always trying to do something better. So even though I don't race anymore, I get my fix mostly when I ride solo, because in the group rides you guys see, most of you that have seen, you notice I only respond to attacks because I'm visiting people's groups and I don't really want to show them up. So when they attack, if I'm feeling good, I go ahead and I play with them, because it's really not a whole lot of fun riding away from everybody, believe it or not, if you're not in a race, because there is no finish line. It's a group ride. So for me, I'd much rather chase back, close a gap, pull people back. I want to get my workout. That's why I ride now, to get my workout. So you find ways to get your workout to where you're not looking like you're showing up anybody, because you're a guest. And so a lot of times I'll even let them go if that's not my plan. Like this time of year, when we ride with those guys, I'm just going to sit in most of the time, because if you ride too hard in the winter, when it's time to really go hard in the spring and summer, you'll be sick of it. You know, you don't want to ride hard right now. Let the December, November, January champions, let them do their thing. Save it for when your Grand Fondo's coming up. You'll be mentally and physically ready. So hold yourself back at this time and build your base, so you will have a high aerobic base. And when you go really fast, it will be super fast. You go slow to go fast. Let's see here. For someone, I've mentioned that. Okay. Yeah, Alex, you're welcome. I mean, you know, it's kind of like, let me talk about, like, I used to do track racing in college. And what people don't understand, I used to do the 100-yard dash. We didn't do a whole lot of 100-yard dash sprints. We worked on technique, which they're like drills. Like when you play soccer, you pass the ball to your teammates and you're controlling the ball. You're not running up and down the field because you jog to get fit or whatever, but you do a lot of drills so you can control the ball, because that's very important in soccer. It's the same thing with track. You spend a lot of time working on your form to be efficient, and then you spend a ton of time building your endurance, because the endurance increased your speed. So some of the workout you would do speed work, just like in cycling, but most of the workout you were below maximum because you can't run at top speed all the time. It's too hard on the body. Same thing with your car. If you drove it at top speed all the time and be in the shop all the time. No other YouTube cycling channel offers something like this. Well, that's good to know, Robert. That's great because I don't want this channel to be like anything else. I think it's really cool that we connect as people so that all of you guys being armed with information are not going to be intimidated from what I call the posers or the snobs out there. And those of you who were not on the stream last night, cycling has a lot of people that look down on other cyclists because they're not wearing the latest kit, or it doesn't fit right, or the wrong shoes in their mind. And I don't like that. I was exposed to that when I used to compete. It intimidates people, and it causes some people to leave the sport. And that's wrong. And I try to push against that. I did that when I raced and just let those guys know, because what I found out was the top riders did not behave like that. It was what I call wannabes. And somebody said he called them Freds or whatever. I call them posers. So I want people here, when you're armed with information, nothing can bother you. You know, my mother always used to tell me that if you make sure that you check how you look in the mirror before you leave the house, and you're walking down the street and somebody laughs, you know they're not laughing at you. You know who you are. That's the thing. That's what this channel is about. I want to arm everybody with information so you don't need anybody at a grand fundo giving you any funny looks. You know what's going on. You know why you're there. You could care less, you know, because that kind of stuff is unnecessary. Let's see here. This is Christopher. I have pretty long femurs, and I've had to buy a 30 millimeter. Well, welcome to the family, because I have the same thing. How do I know if my seat is too far back? Oh, man. All right. You need to look at the best thing I can do for you, Christopher, is to point you to the free video on this channel. If you go in the channel, on the channel page, and just search under our videos, look for saddle fore aft setup. In fact, let me see if I can get the link for you. That will let you know, because that's a very loaded question. Your saddle setback is determined by where you sit on your saddle, what I call sitting in the saddle. So once your height is set, the setback is the next important thing to make sure you're comfortable. And so let me just search for saddle. This video will explain everything. Saddle setback. It's one of our most popular videos. It's on the channel page under popular videos, but I want to find the link. Let's see, saddle setup. Saddle fore aft. That's what I called it. So in a short answer, your saddle fore aft will determine whether you're seated correctly or not. And so what I want to do is give you homework, because this video will answer all your questions. A lot of people here are probably familiar with that, but this will be a direct path. Now, the rest of the videos in the Bike Fit playlist will help you as well. But start with this one. This video assumes that you have the correct saddle height for you. The reason why you need that 30 millimeter setback is because your bike has a more aggressive seat tube than for a tall guy. I don't know if you have the right frame size, but even if you have the right frame size, some manufacturers will give you a 74 or something like that. And so you need the seat post to be, you know, a certain amount of setback to get you behind. I had to do the same thing with my Colnago. On my other two bikes that I did custom, I did not need to do that, because I told the builders to give me a 70 seat tube. That's what you're dealing with. So I hope that helps point you in the right direction. But if you find that you need more help, we do have a remote fit service that we help guys like you on. Let's see here. Where we go here? Hey, Joe, welcome. All right. Somebody said, how hard? Love what you're doing. Learning so much. Okay. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. Brings everything about bike together. Christopher, thank you. I also have pretty long femur. I had to buy a 30-minute set of my ribeye. How do I know my okay, good. Yeah, Christopher, start with that. That was Christopher. I answered the question for. Start with that video, review the rest of the videos in the bike fits. Make sure you got the frame, because we also offer a frame sizing service. Make sure your frame is your size, because a lot of times the bigger bikes have shallower seat tubes, and the shorter bikes, the smaller bikes, have more aggressive seat tubes. If the seat tube is too far forward, that's why you need that much of a setback. I have the same thing on the Colnago, like I said earlier. Okay, what do you think about polarized training? I think you're talking about, is that Polar, the company? Let's see here. I think that's what he's talking about. Moga Marius. Any kind of training that will get you on your bike, I'm all for it. I think the biggest thing is I don't really like to suggest a lot of things where people are paying monthly per se, unless they got a structured plan attached to that. You want to just make sure that something is specific to your goals. That's the key. What are your goals? If your goal is to do well in a Grand Fondo and yada yada yada, make sure that that training plan considers that. If you're just doing this sight unseen, they haven't talked to you, or they don't call it like a base training that will lead into in-season training and so forth to give you the structure you need, it's kind of tough, because you would just be floundering and just riding, and we don't want you just riding. We want you to have focus. How hard do I want to train on a stationary bike if I can't match the fit of my regular bike? Just make sure you're not having any kind of discomfort. If you say about stationary bike, if you're talking about things that are like an ergometer or something you'll find in a gym, it's going to be hard to ever get to that exact position on your road bike, but it can be close. So what I usually recommend to people, let's say you're traveling, I used to travel a lot in the hotels and so forth, do a lot more spinning and pushing so you don't strain anything in that situation. And if you can have one of those with straps on your shoes, that's even better. You don't want to slip if you increase your cadence. So yeah, you can train as hard as you want. Just don't do a lot of heavy gearing stuff if the fit is off, because then you can hurt your knees. All right, let's see. When I ride my bike, my quads fatigue way more than any other muscle. Tim Green. I followed your bike fit guide and ride with a high cadence, but still doesn't seem to help. Any tips? If you're using more quads than the back of your legs, Tim, that points to your fit. What that tells me is you're not recruiting the muscles in the back of your legs. Your saddle may be a little high. So I don't know. I didn't specifically work with you or anything, but I hope that you looked at the bike fit, how to measure your inseam. Start with that, then your saddle height, and then your fore aft. Those 3 videos in the sequence. That should get you pretty close, because the only thing that causes you to use more quads is when your saddle's too high, because you just tend to push down. You're not pulling up. You're not as powerful as you should be with a correctly sized saddle height. That's where you start. Let's see here. Oh man, I've already memorized all your videos. Christopher. All right. He says, I got it. There we go. Okay. So I hope that will help Tim, at least point him in the wrong. If you continue to have problem, Tim, go to our website, sign up for our fit. Send me a note. I'll send you a coupon. And so you can sign up for our remote fit. Let's see. Eric Nell. I understand that we should spin on climbs. Well, what if you climb a steep hill and you're in the smallest gear, but you can spin faster? Any tip? Oh, yeah, Eric, I've been there. You spit, you claw your way over that climb. Nobody cares. Who cares about your cadence? You want to get over that thing. I've been on climbs like that. I'm in my 3928. We got one in Austin called Jester Mountain, and you barely can get that thing turning over. You do whatever it takes to get up that climb. Some people even zigzag, Eric. Nothing wrong with that. I saw Dumoulin zigzagging in the last World Championship race where Alejandro Valverde won on that last climb. Dumoulin was zigzagging. You do whatever it takes to get over that climb. Nobody cares. Nobody keeping track. All right, let's see. All right, Suraj, great to be of help on your. Oh, you like Tuesday already? Yeah, you're a day ahead of us. The land down under. I like that phrase. Chris Roxbury, that's my brother here again. Chris, do you adjust the length of the saddle setback first and then the stem, or vice versa? Chris, the adjustment of the saddle is independent of the stem. The saddle is for your sitting area. So as far as your setback, that's only to make sure your body, your sit bone is in the right position so your legs can get the leverage you need. That's a separate adjustment. Once you're happy and you're stable there, then you look at the measurement for your cockpit. I've got a video in the bike fit on how to set the handlebars, how to measure your shoulder length to determine the stem length and all of that. There are two separate measurements. It's a great question because a lot of riders get that wrong. You don't have to do anything to the saddle to accommodate the stem. They're different. The saddle setup is a prerequisite to doing anything with the cockpit. Because if you're not stable back there, all your setup at the front is almost like a facsimile because they're not real. Until you're stable back there, once you're stable back there, the setting up the cockpit is easy because your hands just fall where they need to. I hope that helps. Polarized training, lots of interval, lots of very easy riding, I think. Yeah, area, Adam, this time of year, I don't suggest you do too many intervals. You start to do intervals closer to your goal. When it's closer to your Grand Fondo or whatever you're going to do. It's winter. Just ride, man. Just put the hours in. Burn the fat. That will get you lean and mean. You will get intervals when you get out there. When the wind picks up, that's an interval. You go up a climb or a roller, that's an interval. Don't focus on that. Interval training is psychologically very hard. So only save that when you're ready to tune up and fine-tune your motor. Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying not to miss anybody here. Okay. Polarized training. We said, Eric, now get some lower gears on your back. Your only option at that, all right, faster. Yeah, but area, Adam, when you run out of gears, you got to finish that climb. You can't stop on the climb to say, I want to go get more gears. No, you get over that sucker and go on with your ride. There's always a climb out there that you can't spin over. You come over a 10, 12% climb, I mean, what are you going to be carrying on that bike? Especially if it's just a one-off. Even the pros, I told you about Dumoulin. He was zigzagging in the world championship. They knew the climb was there, but he just didn't put like a 36 in the rear. He probably had a 32 back there or something. And he just did what he needed to get over that thing and still caught up to those guys. So yeah, you can't worry about every eventuality, Ariel. He said, Christopher says, my shoulders get very tired on 4+ hour rides. I'm able to unload my upper body once I stay relatively fit, but as my power drops, my ability to unload my arms. Okay, your fit is off, Christopher, because the reason why it's happening after 4+ hour, your body can put up with that, but here's what's happening. In the early hours, you're using energy to keep your shoulders. You shouldn't have to keep your shoulders unloaded. Your shoulders should be free and clear if you're sitting on the saddle. You know how when you sit on the couch to watch a movie, you sit back and your shoulders drop. That's the way you should be on the bike. So you're supporting your shoulders because something's wrong in your saddle area. That's where it all starts. So you need to revisit that fit. And he said, yeah, is this normal? No, it's not normal. That's what I was talking about. Your fit is off. I wouldn't say it sucks. You're not alone. A lot of riders have problems with the fit because fit is an evolutionary thing. If you have not dialed it in completely, it always changes. If you buy a new saddle or get new shoes, new cleats, people are always going through stuff, especially if they have not been fitted and are not educated about fit. Everything you change affects your fit. You get a new pedal system and it affects your fit. Go buy a power pedal. It affects your fit. That's a different pedal. So the distance is off. So unless you're really in tune to make those necessary adjustments, people are constantly in a flux with their fit. There are riders that go for years before they dial in their fit. So don't feel bad. That's not. So you just need to realize that your fit is a better investment than the fanciest wheels. Because when that bike fits you, you look forward to getting out there. That's what we started here on this channel. The first Videos I put out were about fit when this channel took off, because that's where it all starts. And on the logo, it says it all begins with fit on the banner in the studio. So let's see here. I was having quad fatigue until I set my saddle more aft. There you go. There you go, Chris. Because now you move the saddle back so you could sit in the saddle. You were probably scooting forward. By moving it back, you move that spot you've been moving forward to under you. So you're seated, you're more anchored. You should be able to ride hands-free. Put your hands behind you on the road and not slide. That's how you know you're in the right fore aft. And this will help Christopher as well. I made a comment about that. Let's see here. Oh, I zigzag on climbs sometimes. It ain't pretty, but as long as it gets you up the climb, it's still much more enjoyable with lower gear. That I agree, Adam. You're right. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do. You know, I don't live in an area where we have a lot of 10% climbs, so I have it 28 on the back, and on my orange bike I have a 36, so I can get over everything in the area, seated and spinning. 70, 75, and that's fine. But there are times when I've had to stand. When I used to race, yeah, you claw your way up, and you can't carry enough gears for everything. It's just, even though we got 11, you got a limit on how, even if you put a long cage on, what are you going to put there? 39 in the back? I mean, come on. You'd be a laughing stock. I remember years ago, the guys used to have a 23, and anything bigger than that, people used to laugh at. Now people got 32s and stuff on there. So you do what you can to get over the climb. And once you get over the climb, you get back in gears you need to continue. Let's see. I'm a natural sprinter, but I want to improve you have to. Yeah, you got to improve your endurance. I'm a natural sprinter too, without sacrificing my sprint. Any tips at all? You don't lose your sprinting ability because you increase your endurance. Your endurance will allow you to be there to sprint when it counts. My coach used to tell me that, because when I left track racing, I got into cycling because I used to have shin splints. That's how I got into cycling. And he would tell me, he's like, yeah, you can sprint. I used to go to the Alkek Velodrome, where all you do is you warm up and sprint around the track. They were just sprint events. But when I started doing road races, I'm not there because of a few climbs. I had to learn how to climb. I hated climbing. I had to go and ride climbs, but I did not stop sprinting. Every Tuesday was my sprint day. I would do sprint workouts. So yeah, you're not going to lose it. It's kind of like you walking on the grass. The path will be there as long as you keep walking on the grass. So you can take a day of the week. And that's why I talk about structured training. Every day has a different workout. That's what the pros do. They don't do any one thing. They don't ride long every day. You hear them doing 6-hour rides. It's not every day. It might be one day out of the week, or the race on the weekend. They do shorter rides, and they do intensity on those shorter rides. Then they have a day where they ride for 6 hours because it's lower. They're actually recovering from the hard efforts while building aerobic capacity, aerobic endurance. Let's put it that way. Hope that helps you. So you need structure. You will not lose your sprints if you have structure. Thanks for the tip. I already have a 32 with a compact. Unfortunately, I weigh 215 pounds. Don't worry about your weight, Eric Nell. Keep riding. I was 230 pounds, I guess, 6-7 years ago. I gained weight after I stopped racing, and then my blood pressure went to hell and all that. And my doctor told me, either you take pills. I was like, I didn't want to take any pills. And so I started riding religiously, because I went into corporate America and started making money and sitting behind a desk and just let everything go. So no, I'm done with that. So yeah, just keep riding your bike. Ride often. Your body will get to the weight you should be at. Don't worry about your weight. Keep riding. You will carry that 215 where you need to. Just keep riding. Let's see. I'm saving up to get a frame made of a slacker. I'll be getting with you to dial in my fit. Yeah, Chris, if you want a 70, a custom frame will work. They're not more expensive than the stuff those guys are selling out there. In fact, they're less expensive. A lot of builders will build you what you want. You get a fit before you buy the frame, so we can get a bike sizing done and know what size will work for your dimensions. And we'll get you something that fits you. Let's see. Chris says, thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. The best climbs we have here are maybe 300 meters height differential, but most of them have very steep 15%. You can grind 40 and have done, and it was ugly. Yeah, If you've got those, you see the pros doing that. When you come to a steep grade, stand up. Nobody cares what the cadence is. Just be on top of the gear. Put it in the lowest one, stand up. Especially if it's short or around a hairpin or something. You stand up, you power in that section. Once it levels off a little bit, you sit down. Now, it might be a 12%. If it's a 12%er that's very long, you still got to put it in your smallest ratio and do what you can. Now, if you're going to ride that all the time and you're already in a compact and you got a 32, then you ride it, and over time, you'll be able to ride it faster, because that's how you build strength too. You're not going to be going very fast. It's not very pretty. But eventually, if you ride that frequently, let's say once a week, because you don't want to get sick of it, once a week, you keep coming back to that climb, it will get easier and easier. I seek out climbs where I live because we don't have too many steep pitches, but we got repeated 4 to 6% grades. So tomorrow morning, Paul and I are heading out to go ride those things. We get out there because the climbs will make us work, but we're not pushing that hard. We just ride them. So it gets us up to tempo, and then we descend and we go back down. So we're not killing ourselves, but by just riding those climbs, when it's time to go hard on them, believe it or not, your body's ready because you've done the work, and you can just notch it up when you need to. So let's see. The best climbs we have here, that's why I've already grind off talk about that. A lot of people say it's so hard on your knees, but if the bike fits you, you can do that occasionally with no pain. Yeah. I'm gonna answer that because that's important. Even if the bike fits you and you find any knee pain when you're powering a gear at a low cadence, then be careful. That's the way the body's telling you you're doing something it doesn't like or it's not prepared for. Remember, you have to build up the muscles around the knee, support the knee. The knee itself doesn't do any work. It's your quadricep muscles and all the other little muscles that stabilize the knee. So until you build those muscles by riding a lot, don't go and kill yourself on these serious grinds. Don't muscle a gear before you're ready. It's kind of like going to the gym. Don't go lift heavy weights if you haven't done the lighter ones to build yourself up. Same thing. So you feel any pain, back off. You only got one set of knees, no spare. So back off. Okay. Is there any benefit in doing base training year round instead of just the winter to catch up in terms of fitness versus base just in the winter? Alex Moore. Alex, what we usually do is it doesn't matter when you do base training, but I want to qualify what I mean by base training. The plans that I build on veloharmony.com, my base training is not slow. It's preparatory, meaning there are intervals thrown in there, but they're not intervals at your max. There are intervals for threshold and so forth. You do a threshold test so you can get your zones to really utilize the plan. But what it is the base training says you've been off for a while. We're getting you ready for work to come. So I set up base training for like 8 weeks, and I got one for 12 weeks for people who've been off for a while or are new to the sport. So to answer your question is that you can do base training whenever you want, but I'm going to answer it 2 ways. If you do base training in the winter, the rest of the year, base work is thrown in your plan on specific days, your long days. That's base work. And then you have days where you do shorter interval work, whether you're doing sprints or anaerobic intervals or whatever, on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday is your long day. Then you rest, and the weekend you do everything together in a long ride. So base training is always there. It's just not the main event once you've completed it. So if you're coming into the sport in June because you've been hurt or haven't been riding, then in June you want to do at least 8 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks of preparatory training to get yourself ready. Then you can push. You don't want to push when you're not ready. It won't do much. You won't be going that fast, and you just be hurting. So that's what it is. So I hope that answers your question. You can do base training anytime, but once you're done with base training, you reduce it now. It's not going to be most of your training anymore. All right. Do you recommend weight training in the off season? Yes, such as heavy leg work, such as squats, deadlifts. Okay, I've done those before. My body type, what I found was I was building muscles that I did not use on the bike. So I was using more watts per kilo to get over climbs than I needed to. If you're like into mostly sprinting, let's say track sprinting, and you're a track sprinter, yeah, by all means, that's what they do. They build big muscles. They go fast on the track. They don't have to deal with climbs, and they don't have to ride for hours on end. But if you want to be an all-around rider, you want to minimize the weight training in the closer to the mean season, let's say early season and mean season. In the winter, you want to use the weight training to just strengthen the muscles that you don't use on the bike, like an overall conditioning. Doing squats is fine, but you need to make sure you're not one of those people that are predisposed to bulking up like I am. So I only do the total gym, which is more of a stretching, calisthenic kind of resistant thing, or I do military style exercises, push-ups, chin-ups, sit-ups, stuff like that. That's what I do, especially in the winter. I don't ride every day in the winter. When I'm not riding, that's what I do to strengthen the stomach muscles, because a strong core keeps your back from aching when you put a lot of miles in on the bike. It balances off because you use the back muscles on the bike. So yes, it's good, but you got to be cautious and make sure you don't bulk up. Not everybody has that propensity to bulk up, but as a cyclist, resist the urge to do too many 4 to 6 rep stuff. Do the 12 to 15 rep stuff. Build strong endurance strength, which is what I call it. Hello, everyone. I have problems with my left hand going numb. What is a suggestion on what could be the problem? Welcome, Craig. We've all been there. Your left hand is going numb because your fit is off. I'm sure you've heard that. That doesn't tell you a whole lot, so we're going to go deeper. What happens, Craig, is something's off on the fit. So what the human body does is, if it doesn't like where you're sitting on the saddle, you press with that left hand so you can unload that uncomfortable spot on the saddle, or where your feet clip into the bike, if you're clipped in. So you're putting weight on that left hand because there is something you don't like. And I suspect it starts with that saddle. You don't have that aha feeling when you sit on the bike, which releases the hands. So the left hand is pressing down on the bars when you ride to alleviate that discomfort. So over time, it gets numb. That's why it's only the left hand. It's something on the right side you don't like. Hope that helps. I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at you because it's happened to me and it happens to a lot of my clients. And everybody thinks it's only them because they're uncomfortable and they say only my left hand, like it's weird. No, it's normal. Something on the right side your body doesn't like. And so your hand is unloading it. Let's see. You mentioned yesterday that you drink a recovery drink. What do you drink? It's called High Five Nutrition. I don't know if I have it on my website or not, but I need to put it there. I've gotten a few questions about it. High Five Nutrition is a carbohydrate. It has like protein in it. I don't like to just drink carbs. I want protein to help repair the muscle. And I'm glad you mentioned that. That's how come I can ride at my age every day and be fresh. As when I'm on the bike, sometimes, especially in the winter, I will mix the High Five. There's 2 scoops in the 500 milliliter bottle, and I take it with me. So I get energy and liquids, because in the winter, if I just drink water, every 2 hours, we have to stop and pee anyway. Even when Paul and I just ride, we stop every 2 hours. We stop somewhere and we pee behind a tree, wherever. We just have to pee. So instead of me just drinking water, I include my energy drink in there. So even when I'm on the bike, it keeps my energy stores up. When I get home, as soon as I hit the door, I get in, put my bike on the stand, immediately mix that. And sometimes I'll mix it in my Gatorade bottle. I'll drink a little bit of Gatorade, pour 2 scoops in there, shake it up, get that in my system while I'm changing, showering, whatever. As soon as I'm done, I get some solid food, whatever it is. Sometimes I'll come after the ride, like 11:30 thereabouts. I still feel like I want to have breakfast. I make my egg whites, bagel, and just sit and eat. You want to get solid food in your body within 2 hours after your ride. That's when the body is at its best at absorbing the carbs and replenishing your glycogen stores. So I can ride Saturday, Sunday hard and be fine. That's what it takes. If you wait too long, it's like you're on empty. You don't want to do that because you lose that little window where the body can really pack things in. So the first couple of hours, you got to get food in there. You start with the energy drink, to kind of start that and then get some solids within 2 hours. Even if you want to go to a restaurant, that's fine. That 2 hour window. So a lot of times before I ride, I have food in the house already waiting for me to eat when I come back. So I make sure I'm ready to go. So High Five is good. High Five, a recovery drink. I will put it on the website, the recommended cycling products on the website. If it's not there, I will check and put that there. But there are many other things out there. The reason why I like the ones that have protein, like I said, is you want to repair the muscles. You need protein for the muscles that you've been pushing and stressing. You know, we ride 4 or 5 hours in the hills. That's hard. Even if we ride at endurance pace, the hours get you tired just as much as the intensity. So don't think that because you're riding long, it's not hard. No. On my easy days, an hour tops. I'm done. Because the longer you ride, it takes energy. That would tire you out anyway, even if you're going slower. So save that energy for the next day when you're going to go hard. So when you ride long and steady or in zone 2 for 4 hours, 3 hours, that's a hard ride. Don't discount it just because you're not going full gas. Okay? The body needs to recover from that. Let's see. I'm a beginning rider and I commute with a gravel bike. I'm hoping to get one of those. I want a gravel or cross bike. But I'd like to get into group ride. Is my bike okay? Of course. Of course. If you're commuting, you're riding on the road. Yeah, you can come on there. In fact, we had a guy, the group I used to ride with many years ago. We don't ride with them anymore. They were a bunch of crazies. But there was a guy that showed up on a mountain bike kicking our butts. It was embarrassing. So yeah, by all means, don't let nobody. If anybody looks at you funny, just ignore them. They're posers or friends. Nobody cares. As long as you're safe, nobody cares what bike you're riding. In fact, when I get a gravel bike, I'm taking it out to the group ride. That's what I'm going to ride because I'm going to get one that is close to like a road bike, gravel or cyclocross looking with the cross tires and all of that. Because some cyclists are very, what's the word? Our egos get us in trouble because they see you with the wrong equipment. They think you shouldn't be able to hang on. No, you can commute on that bike. You can use your commute to train. Chase those green lights before they turn yellow. Blast through them. That's training. That's how you do that. Take the long way to work and the long way home. That's training. Then show up on the weekend with your bike in good condition, ready to ride. And ride. Carry a patch kit like you usually do. So no, anything goes. As long as you can use it on the road, you can come with a mountain bike. The guy Christian we ride with, he shows up with his mountain bike to ride on the road every now and then. You're going to work a little harder if your bike is heavier, especially if it's up and down. But yeah, there's no rules on what. As long as there's a road bike and you want to, even if it's not a road bike, you want to ride it on the road, that's your business. A lot of riders will just change the tires if they have tires for the dirt. They just change the tires. Same bike will go. You don't have to have a so-called road bike. Anything that your gravel bike, if you're riding on the road, is road. They just call it gravel bike because you can handle rocks better than our so-called road bikes can. So you're better off. So yeah, by all means, nobody's going to give you a hard time about that. Let's see. I get the left-hand thing as well after 3 hours or so on the bike. Yeah, Charles M. What it means is your body tolerates it for the first few hours. You're still doing the same thing, but it builds up. That's the thing with a lot of discomfort. You can ride around the neighborhoods or do a short ride with a bad fit. But what ends up happening is as you begin to have more fun and you ride more, then all of a sudden you're like, I never noticed that before. Yeah, the longer you ride, it exacerbates an existing problem, just like anything in life. The body can put up with stuff for short periods of time. So yeah, you can cheat on the short rides. And a lot of guys will come and say, I'm fine when we're going easy, but when we start going hard, then I get numb. Yeah, because that's when it counts. So yeah, that's all it means, Charles M. It means something's off with your fit. And what that sounds like to me, there's a part of the saddle you don't like sitting on that much. So you're putting weight on that hand to relieve something. You're unloading something by pressing on the bars with that hand. That's why it's getting numb. You're cutting off the circulation. You're not completely relaxed, like I showed in some of the videos I talked about fit. Let's see. Yourself, how you doing? Steve, message retracted. Stephen Crane. Evening. Hey, Stephen, where are you? Evening. It's afternoon here. What part of the world you in? What's your opinion on bike rollers compared to turbos? Rollers are great. I've used them before. They help you with balance. And by all means, if that's what you prefer, they work fine. Turbos, I think, have their purpose. I use what you call turbos. We call the stationary trainer, and that's fine. I use them because for what I do with fit, it helps me keep the bike steady as I'm working with clients when they come and all of that. I have used rollers. Now, I had a pair of rollers and I ended up selling it because it was one of the fancy ones that had a bar behind the wheel. And I ankle when I ride. I drop my heel, and my heel kept hitting that bar that was there for the resistance setting. So I'm a customer for just standard rollers with nothing in the way. So yeah, rollers are good. They even have rollers where you can mount the fork on something stationary and the rear wheel just sits on rollers because of the feel. Some riders like that when they get ready for races. There's a company that makes that. So yeah, nothing's wrong with rollers if you're good at them. What I always tell people, if you're new to rollers, put them between like a hallway or a doorway so you got something to hang on to until you get your balance in place. Because many riders, including me, have fallen off the roller in the house, and it's funny and dangerous. You can hurt yourself because until you get real proficient at it. All right. Any thoughts on the new Continental 5000 tires? I have not been blessed to try them, Steve. I have the 4000 S2. So until I wear them out or they send me a pair, I'm not going to be spending some money on them, but they claim that it's an improvement on and I like them. I use them on the orange bike. I use the 4000 S2 on the orange bike. I'm very happy with them. I use them with latex tires. They have been very, very good as far as me. Some people have had bad experiences with them. Everybody has different experiences. Depending on what batch you get, sometimes you may get a batch that has inherent problems sometimes. All the brands, sometimes you just get, they're all pretty good. So yeah, if you're going to get them and you don't need a tire today, take advantage of the sales because you can get them like half off. I don't pay more than $35 for a tire now. That's about what they seem to price them, 32, 35. That's when I get them. Because normally they're like 69, 70. I just wait and I buy them before I need them. I always have tires sitting. You're going to be cycling. You're going to need tires. Always have at least an extra set. I have like several extra sets just sitting. So when I need a tire, it's there. I don't need to run to the bike shop. The bike shop, you're paying retail. So yeah, you can't go wrong with the main ones. Oh, in the UK. Steven's in the UK. He said evening. Well, this is the reason I set this up at this time. And we're going to do it on Wednesday around this time. I wanted to accommodate the local guys around lunch. The guys in California, it's a little early for them sometimes. And then the people in Europe, but for the main thing, I wanted at noon is like evening. Yeah, 6-7 hours, I think. Let's see. With the left hand problem, do you feel that it's a major fix or something minor? Craig, is very minor. What I recommend is this. All of you that are on here, if you use this code on the website, let me put this on here. I set up something, there's a discount on it. I send it to the developer, repeat customer. Use this code, you'll get a discount on the services. I don't think it's one of the things they put on the sale for Black Friday. The services are not, because it's intense. It's time intensive to do remote fit. I did it because people asked for it on the channel. It's minor, but the biggest thing is you can't just do one thing. You have to go through. That's why I recommend the remote fit. We have to go back to the drawing board, check your inseam, saddle height, fore aft to correct that. So yes, it's minor, but we're going to be tweaking something. We're not going to just say move it. We got to know what we're moving. And you have to understand why you're doing what you're doing. It's important before you change anything on your bike. You need to understand why. So you want to err away from people. If somebody has not been working with you on that fit and they just tell you to do this, it raises a question mark. No fitter would just tell you do this unless they've been working with you already. So when you sign up for our remote fit, there's a big questionnaire. You send all your measurements, and then I even give you videos, specific videos that what I call the premium videos that show you the areas people miss. Also, it's important that you get a level so that you can get your saddle height done correctly. That's very important. But yes, it's minor, but you still have to have your entire fit reviewed. But the remote fit is about half what we charge for the other one, and with that coupon is even less. So take advantage of that and get that dialed in, because if when your bike fits you, you will just have so much more joy on your rides. Let's see. Hi man, just into the stream. What is it about? N33LZ, welcome. What is this? Have I got cheated on? I don't know what that is about, Isaiah. Have you got cheated on? What does that mean? Have you had any reliability issues with your Garmin? No, I have not, Michael. I've got a Garmin 1000. It's years old. It's one of the first ones that came out. And Paul has a Garmin 800. I just use them. They're bomb proof. I use it. I have it set up to where as soon as I get home, it sends my ride to Strava, to Garmin Connect. Then Garmin Connect sends it to Strava. Once it connects to my Wi-Fi at home, that's how I have it set up. I don't do anything with it other than record the ride and load it to Strava, because for the most part, I use it as a watch per se, because one of my settings is time of day and that kind of stuff. Other than that, cadence. Cadence is the main thing. Whatever I'm doing, I want to know if I'm getting out of breath, what cadence is causing me to get out of breath on this climb and why? That's what's important. Those are the things. My first thing is cadence. When I used to have power was right next to it. Heart rate is down, and then speed is at the bottom. Speed is on the bottom left. That's the last thing I look at. In fact, Victor and I, when we sprint against each other, he always asks me, what speed were you doing? I tell him, I don't know. It doesn't matter. If you're sprinting against somebody and you're first, who cares what the speed was? You were going fast enough. I don't look at speed. So no, if you're having problems with it, get it looked at, because, especially if it's early, they can deal with a warranty. Those things are expensive. So they should be able to give you another unit. You shouldn't have any issues. If it's having reliability, you just got a bad one, they need to replace it or something. A lot of the manufacturers are pretty good, but I haven't had any problems with it, fortunately. Beginner here, I just bought a Lightspeed Titanium. Yeah, Lightspeed used to be the titanium bike of choice out there. My T6 model doesn't have an aggressive stack height on the front. However, having the stem slam will be bad for my back. All right. Yeah, even if you hadn't said beginner here, your question says that you're a beginner. Nothing wrong with that. You don't slam your stem unless your fit says you can. So really, it sounds like the first thing you need is to get fitted to that bike that you bought. And my second thing is that I'm concerned, if you didn't get a fit first, how do you know you got the right size frame? Did the guy at the shop just say, what did he use? So you need to think in terms of, since you just got it, is it the right size for you? Did you get a bike sizing done, or did the guy at the store do it for you? And you may be, because a lot of shops know within centimeters where you can ride. So yeah, your fit will determine whether you should slam your stem or not. I have a video that talks about that. Let me see if I can find it here. That's why I keep this thing open, so that you can kind of look at that. It will give you background. Nothing's wrong with being a beginner. You all have to start somewhere. That's why I'm going to give you information. After this, you won't be a beginner anymore. So let's see. Slamming your stem. I have videos on slamming your stem, and that's what I'm searching on in the channel. I just said slamming your stem, and I have 3 videos on there. I'm going to give you, here is one that says, should you slam your stem? I think that will be one you should start with. All of these are under the, what playlist is this on? I think it's the Bike Fit. Let's see, copy. Okay. All of these is under the Bike Fit playlist. So if you go in there, this is your link to that video. I don't see it. Okay. Yeah, that's the link to that video. So that should help you get started. It should be, if you look at the Bike Fit playlist, it should be there because that's where all the videos for stem slamming, and how to slam your stem and how to actually cut it down, cut your steerer tube, all of that's in there. Let me see here. There is another one. I don't know if this will help you as well. Yeah, it's in the Bike Fit. So if you go in the Bike Fit playlist, you'll find several other videos about slamming stem. It will help you understand what you base your decision on before you decide to slam your stem, because I covered that in detail. Let's see. All right. All right. All right. Some of these guys I'm going to have to block because they're not serious. Some guys asking if I'm gay. So what's going to happen is we're going to put him in timeout. He's not serious. He's not a cyclist. He's wasting time on the internet. I don't have time for that. Excellent show. I'm an old guy getting back on the bike after 30 years, thanks to the inspiration. You're welcome, Ron Tyner. You're not an old guy. Come on. You're only old when you're dead. We're all old. If I were a dog, I'd be dead. Come on. You're an old guy. Come on. I like old guys. We call ourselves old dogs, not old guys. Old dogs mean you're wise. So we changed that from old guy to old dog. Sense. Here's another question for you. What's a good way to learn how to ride one-handed and no-handed while still pedaling as normal, not coasting? Oh, okay. I need to find the video for you because I made one. Somebody asked that about a year ago. Let me find it. And that will cover everything you need. You will be able to see it because I actually went on a ride and rode no hands and gave you all the things to look out for. I think I called it No Hands Ride. I don't know how I remember these videos, but I guess it's kind of like having kids. Labor of love. You build them and you remember. I just generally remember. Here it is. Wow, you're fortunate. You're going to like this video. It was popular. 4,000 of your fellow cyclists watched it in the first week, I think. Here we go. Let me put it here for no hands riding. This will cover everything you need to learn how to do that. All right. Let's see. Hello from the south of France. The south of France. Well, welcome. Je parle français un peu. He said, I learned so much with your channel. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you. You're welcome. Let's see. I like the sunglasses you wear doing your group ride. What brand are they? Have you included shades in any of your kit videos? Okay, now this is Jason. Jason, you have to be a little more specific. I wear a lot of different glasses. There's if it's the blue one, the reason I haven't included that is, what's his name? Christian brought it from Italy. And I told him that I wanted to do a review on it. The problem is he was having problems with our US custom guys in getting more. So since we could not get more quantities, I didn't do a review because it's not available here for sale. That was the blue one that I wore. Now, some of the other ones are like they're standard. I wear some Giros, but I think I know which one you're talking about. Some of the videos I wear, like one that's clear, but it's photochromic. And it's made by, it's on the, let me find the link. It's on my website on glasses. Move a little quickly. See if I can find it here. I have a link on the website. It gives, under the web store, that gives recommended cycling products. If you go to the website, under the web store, on the menu, web store, if you're on a phone or tablet, you will need to dismiss the banner about Black Friday first before you can see the menu. But you want to go to web store, recommended cycling products. I'm going to scroll because I don't know if the developer named the spot for the glasses. I think it's under accessories. Let's see. It should be at the top then. So people have asked, and so if it's here, I know somebody has asked about glasses. And so what I do, once somebody asks, I tried to have them put it out here. Yeah, there we go. It's called Rudy Project. If that's the one where I was doing a short ride with a purple jersey on. Uh, so let me put the link on here. I think this is glasses. Let's see. Yep, good. Here's the link to one of the glasses that I wore. If it's not the one you're talking about, you can send me a note or something on the channel and I can look into that. Let's see here. Okay. Do you have a specific store or site to buy tires or tubes at a discount? I get them. I get them from Amazon, Robert. I put them on here. Let me see. Let me get a link for you. I try to keep up with that because I buy them all the time. Especially with Black Friday going on. I think I put them on the tires. Let's see here. Get a link. Come on, come on, come on. I think it's tires. Let's see. So I have them on the website, Robert. I'm trying to find where it is. Let's see. Bike stands. I believe they put them on the tires. Every now and then I come through here and look through and have these guys move things around. There we go. Tires. Yeah, tires. So if you go to the recommended cycling products, let me see here. Let's see if this will load. I don't think it's. Let's see if I have a direct link to it. Yep, looks like I do. Cool. All right. Here's where I get my tires from, Robert. Right there. Let's see here. It says check your reach, left or right hand. Oz D Max. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You should be able to do it with both. I think you're asking which hand you should use to check your reach. Use your dominant hand. Start with that. Usually, there's not huge discrepancies. It might be maybe a millimeter here and there. Shouldn't be too much. I mean, there's always situations where people have had an injury, but we want to accommodate the longest hand. So if you have different lengths, go with the longest hand, the longest reach you have. So my inseam is 77.5, and when I tried the 0.883, I got 60, but after that, I had a lot of pain and numbness. Let me see here. 68.4. And did you remove? You need to move 3 millimeters. 77.5. So it'll be 68.1. Who is that? Let's see. This is Leonex. 68.1. Once that's a good height to start with. You shouldn't have a lot of pain and numbness. Now, how are you seated? So lower it to 68.1. I'm moving 3 millimeters for clip-in pedals. That's the formula. It's 883 times your inseam minus 0.3, which will accommodate clipless pedals to start with. That should be that's comfortable for most people. So it's a good start. Now, whatever saddle you're on, make sure you're sitting on the sweet spot, what I call, there's a video I have for the 4F. Watch that 4F video in the channel and make sure you seat it perfectly. He said you dropped it 1 centimeter. Then again, no, that's too much, but your hands are getting numb. Okay. Set the height, level the saddle, make sure it's level so you're not sliding, and make sure you're seated properly, that when you're pedaling, you're not trying to scoot forward or back. Watch that 4F video to determine your 4F. Start with those setups, and we'll go from there. Let's see. Alessio. Let's see. Won't tires dry rotting? How long can you store them? I keep mine in Ziploc airtight bags. I've had them for several years. I don't store it in a garage where it gets really hot or really cold. It's inside the house in a drawer or a cabinet, and it's been fine. So it has a lot to do with where you store them. The same reason I keep my bike inside the house, so I don't have to deal with the condensation of the changes in temperature because my garage is not air conditioned. So yeah, I haven't had any problems storing them. All right, let's see here. Alex says he'd like to ask a question, but he's stuck in class. That's fine, Alex. We'll have one on Wednesday afternoon. That's fine. There'll be more. Let's see. Mad Mike said he got a question, but he didn't say what it was. John Lyon said, "Is titanium free best than alloy?" They're different. I wouldn't say best. Currently, I prefer my titanium frame because of the feel and how light it is and lively it is, how stiff and how every force makes the bike go forward. But I also own a steel bike that I love riding because of the dampening forces. So it really is a toss up. I don't know if it's better necessarily. It's different. It's just a different feel, you know. So yeah, I wouldn't do it that way and say better. Nowadays, all the steel alloy can be steel. I think that's what you mean, because steel is not made out of one metal. It's a mixture. All of them are anyway. All right. Let me brakes keep squeezing when I brake. How would I stop it? Okay. Yusuf says his brake. I think his brake is squealing. When your brakes will squeal because the pads are not lined up. Like sometimes if it's towed in too much, it will squeal, or if the rims are dirty. If you have disc brakes and they're making noise, the same reason. The disc is dirty or the pads are glazed over. You know, so clean your if it's a rim brake, clean the wheel first, and then loosen the whatever holds those brake pads onto the caliper against the wheel. Squeeze the brake, loosen those, and then tighten them so that they line up, so they're not pivoted in one way or the other. That's what will cause the squealing as well as the dirt. Okay. I have a question for you, sir. Mad Mike. Well, you keep saying you have a question, Mike. Just state the question. Let's see. You've had one in a group ride with someone taking a picture. Okay. Yeah, it's hard to say. That was the shades that Mudspud was talking about. Alex says, love to ask a question but stuck in class. I read that. Let's see. Really enjoyed the video, especially the ones on etiquette. Very helpful for the group rides. Thank you. That was Roy. Thanks, Roy. You're welcome. Howard Bassey. Stephen Crane. Any motivation tips for a long winter of riding? Steve, he says long winter of riding. That sounds like he's someplace where it won't thaw out until March. All right, Stephen. What I recommend is that you get a structured plan, and it won't seem that long. Get our 12-week plan on the website. Go under the, I think it's under services. It's cycling services, training plans, base training plans on the website. Get one of those plans. You will have structure. You will come out of this long winter stronger and faster because it's designed to get you there. That's the way to do it. All right. Swerve says CX in the chat. Oh, I'm not sure what that means. Rich Walker has bike Nash Bar. Nash Bar has some good deals on tires right now. Okay. Yeah. Bonjour, Eldred Howard Bazzi. Comment ça va? Ah, Bien. Bonjour, Howard Bassi. Bonjour, my friend. How you say, mes amis? Yeah, I think that's my friend. What's your stance on plant-based raw diets? This doesn't sound very appetizing. I mean, freedom cycles. I eat a lot of plant food. Okay, I'm not a vegetarian. I've tried that, but for me, I don't eat a lot of beef. Just based on where I grew up, we grew up by the sea, so we eat a lot of fish. I eat a lot of eggs and stuff, but about 90% of my diet is green stuff, is vegetables, and then the base is starch. I eat a lot of rice and I eat some potatoes, but mostly rice. Where I grew up, rice was a staple. And so we have a lot of stir fry where we'll have beans and broccoli and carrots mixed like that. And I fix that at home. That's how we eat cabbage and different things. So I don't eat them raw. My daughter now will eat broccoli like it's candy. That's just her. She's 9 years old. That's what she likes. The other daughter will eat candy like it's broccoli. They're completely opposite. So yeah, I mean, that's fine. I don't feel you need to be extreme in one way or the other. I think that a balanced diet works best, but you can try that stuff. That's what life's about. Try it. I just don't see me eating a lot of just vegetables. I like the occasional piece of chicken here and there, but meat is a small proportion of my meals. I really like the veggies, and I eat a lot of rice. The rice is the biggest thing. It's like a bed, and they sit on it because that's what fuels my muscles. The body converts that into glycogen. That's what you need. That's the energy you need. Now you do need some protein. That's the reason I eat beans and broccoli and other things like that. That's a good source. I don't get my protein from meats exclusively. A lot of beans and stuff. So yeah, try that. It won't hurt you. It's just a matter of keeping it down. There's a lot of fiber. So yeah, it will fill you up. But I don't know how long you keep that up as far as making it tasty. So when you say raw, I guess you don't mean you don't cook them. Maybe you steam it, or the variety is what makes you tolerate the food. So that's my only thing. So I think it's good for you. Yo, I'm French. So see Kel. Okay. Thank you so much. I'll give it a try. This was Leon X. You're welcome, Leon X. That was what I meant. Answer one of his questions. Thoughts on power meters, pedal based or crank based? Alex P. If I had to choose, Alex, I would pick pedal based. The reason being is it gives you flexibility to move between bikes, especially a guy like me who have multiple bikes. Now, the reason I don't own a pedal-based power meter is because I love the Shimano pedal system. The other pedal systems give me hot spots. They always have. And the Shimano wide platform has always worked for me. Even before they made the new SPD SL ones, Shimano always had wider pedals. When I raced, I just rode Shimano pedals. It's always so. I'm hoping they develop one, but they haven't. The crank-based stuff, you're stuck with one bike. I mean, who wants to swap their cranks all the time? So that's the thing, and they're just nice to have. I mean, they're great. Don't get me wrong. If I had one, I would use it periodically. But I own one. I own the G3, as I've explained before in one of the videos and on the chat yesterday. I own the G3. It was just a pain. It kept quitting on me, and their only fix was take the wheel off, take the nut off, open the hub, take the battery out, put it back in, almost like you're rebooting it or something. That was the fix. And that was unacceptable. It was happening every week to 10 days for me. And other riders experienced, I sold it on eBay. I explained to the people who were buying it. They say, yeah, they knew about it. And I just got rid of it. And even when I owned the wheel, it was like you're stuck with one wheel. And you got to where you were feeling like you're in a lab all the time. I think power meters are great if you take them on a specific ride where you're trying to work on your watts on that hill or, something on your route. That's great. That's how the pros use them. Don't get fooled. Those guys will tape over their computer. They will tape over the power display because they don't want to see it all the time. They just want to go ride their bikes. Literally, they do that. So yeah, you can get too much into gadgets. A lot of times when I go ride, I take my computer and put it in my pocket. It's recording, but it's in my pocket, stored. Especially when Paul and I ride. Sometimes I just put it to sleep. I don't want to see it. You know, that's the nice thing about the Garmin. You can put it to sleep. And so a lot of times, sometimes Paul will ride. I think 2 weeks ago, Paul was on the ride. He didn't even turn on his computer. It was just sitting on there. Didn't even turn it on. Because I was telling him, you need to hold this cadence. Is your computer on? He said, no, I didn't turn it on. And that's what I use it for if I want to hold a specific cadence. So if you're using it in that manner, they're great. Don't feel like you got to use it on every ride. You should be able to go out and say, I'm riding easy today, and just ride, you know, or go out and say, I'm going to go play and I'm going to go fast. I don't care to get feedback or what watts I'm doing. I just know I'm going fast. If you know, my coach used to tell me, if you're at the front, you're going fast enough. That's all that matters. So yeah, they're great to have. If you can afford it, you want it. Yeah. But I would take the pedal over the crankbase for that flexibility. Let's see. Thanks for being so detailed in your videos. Good job. This is Jason Hinton. Surprisingly enjoy learning from your group ride video. I'm glad you do, because that's why I do that. The group ride video, actually, how can I put it? I don't want to say it's a bad investment. As a return on time, I put more time into that thing than any other video on the channel, because just the process of producing it to the level I want to do it requires a lot of time. I'm not sitting there the whole time. I just have to I set it up and I let it process. But it takes 24 hours to get the data stream, you know, the overlay done, stuff like that. Depending on the length, the longer it is, the more time it takes. But it's a labor of love, because I wanted to just not have videos per se where I'm just talking to you guys. I wanted you to see. And so the group rides allow you to see what we talk about being applied in the field per se. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. So yeah, I'm glad you like that, because what happens is I love cycling. And Paul and I would find videos on YouTube before I started this channel, and we couldn't watch 30 seconds of other riders riding because we didn't know what the heck was going on. We just see guys riding, and it would be so quiet. You can't even hear that they're outside. You don't hear wind, nothing. Just they took everything out of it. It looked like they were in a tube. And I was like, ugh, what is, you know? So when we started doing the channel, I started doing the rides. I used to put the thing on my helmet. I started to do the narration because I used to narrate over some of the pro rides, and it was popular. So I used that same theory to the group rides. So now you know what's going on. So when I learn people's names that we ride with, I call their names. So it gets to where you get to know the characters per se, the cast. But then you know why this is happening or why this might be happening. What was I thinking at that time during the ride? So it's like you're there with us. That's what the group rides on this channel is about. I wanted to do it differently than everybody, so I put the time in to produce that video. It takes the most time to do those, but I think long-term they're better because I'm setting them up like a series now on the channel to where they're dated, so people can come and catch up on the series. That's the way we're doing it. So I'm glad to get this kind of feedback. Here we go. That was Jason that said that. 54 watching, but 16 likes. All right. I currently have Zip 303. I owned one of those before and have thought of getting 50 or 60 carbon wheel. Will they make a big difference in speed overall? Steve Peterson. Well, on a flat course, yeah, they might. But now I'll caution you, because unless even if you're a big guy in crosswinds, the very deep ones are hard to manage. And I'm not just speaking from reading. I'm speaking from people who own them in the rides with me, literally being on the road and seeing them blown around. Like Alan. Alan has a Cervelo P5 time trial bike. He's got like the deep dish zips. And yes, they get blown around. And Alan's not a small guy. You know, he might be at least 185. So just be cautious based on your body weight, because a lot of times it's better to have a smaller wheel in the front and then the big one on the rear to get that speed. So you may want to hang on to the 303 in the front and then maybe get just one big one for the back if you can. Because that's what I see. Even NV, that manufacturer, that's how they do their wheels now. They're staggered because that gives you more stability. Okay? So I hope this helps. Um, let's see here. Gotten anything from performance? I'm checking the time there. We got 14:15. Okay. Gotten anything from Performance Bicycle after hearing the parent company just filed they are closing 50%? No, I haven't. I never bought anything from them before they had made the announcement. Um, they seem to be low on quantities. Anytime I would search for stuff and find them, because I only search for stuff that I'm going to put on the recommended stuff. If I'm buying something and people have asked about it, or I think other cyclists can use, I try to put it on my website. And a lot of times they just didn't seem to have the quantities to support that. So a lot of times I go through Amazon because they seem to have more access to other vendors. So no, I don't know about that. Nem3 says ciao. Hello, Nem3. Let's see. Gotten anything from there? That's what I just read. Why don't you have a Strava group, Freedom Cycles? I do. It's called Veloharmony. You may not be following. Go to Strava, look for Veloharmony, request to follow, will sign you up. Once you follow, there is a Veloharmony group on Strava. I also have a Veloharmony group on Facebook. And it's under the same Veloharmony name. Let's see here. Remove. Thanks a million for this channel. Very educational and clear content. This is Vince. Vince, you're welcome. VH, what are your thoughts on Zwift? FTP builder plans on my days when I'm not on the trainer. I go by RPE as described by you in one of your videos on my longer. I don't use Zwift, but the biggest thing you want to caution yourself on is to make sure that whatever plan will get you on your bike and keep you riding consistently, it's a good idea. I don't, unless you're using Zwift to connect with people all the time. I know that they charge you monthly and stuff like that. So I look at monthly things unless you're getting the value as the new form of being enslaved. So I'm very cautious on committing to anything monthly. I don't like to pay people to go ride my bike. I just want to ride my bike. It's not golf to pay all these fees. The bikes are already expensive. I just want to buy my bike, go ride. So I don't mind one-time costs. That's the reason why we have plans where people just buy them and they use them for the whole 12 weeks. So you don't have to be paying monthly, because what happens when you don't get on Zwift? You still got to pay. So keep that in mind. I mean, it's fine. If it will get you on your bike, I'm all for it. That's the key. Let's see. What are the best gears to use on an indoor trainer to improve functional threshold power? Well, it's going to vary because your resistance on your indoor trainer, it will vary. It's not so much the gears you need versus the zones. You want to improve FTP, then you need to train at or near FTP. So that means you need to know what FTP is for you. You need to do a threshold test and determine your FTP so you can train there. Okay. Have you ever thought about taking one of those drones on your bike ride, a type of drone that automatically follow you wherever you go? I don't own one, so I don't, if I own one, I probably would consider it, but it would have to be a drone that you can manage while you're riding. You want to make sure you don't get one that will interfere with the wires. I mean, I don't know how high it would have to fly. I guess you'd have to keep it reasonably close, so it's probably doable. But no, I don't own a drone. They're not exactly very inexpensive. So, no, I don't. Let's see. Your thoughts on why they're trying to ban power meters during the Tour de France next year? I have no idea. I didn't know there were. That's a good point. I don't know why they would. I don't think it matters. It's just a good pacing tool, so I don't see why they should care. You're still right. A power meter doesn't ride the bike. I don't see how they would do that. It's in every bike. All those bikes, all the cranks, all those guys with their crankbaits, SRMs and quartz and all those other. I don't see how they can do that. That's ridiculous. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. It's not an unfair advantage if somebody has a power meter. The riders that ride by feel, what are you going to do? Tell them, oh, when you feel good, don't ride. We're going to ban you. Come on. That's ridiculous. I don't believe that owning a power meter is really going to give you that much of an advantage. It helps you train. It is a tool. You still got to ride the bike. I don't care what power meter you have. If you can't produce the power, there is nothing for the power meter to do. You got to be able to ride hard when it counts. When it's time to go and you don't have it, you don't have it. Doesn't matter if you got a power meter on the bike. So I don't know. That's kind of weird. I will read up on that and see. I hadn't heard about that. All right, let's see. Zwift has gotten me on the bike a lot more as of late. I'm a tennis coach, so my time is limited. I've put in 280 miles and feeling much stronger. Yeah, Anthony, I think the biggest thing is that it's good that Zwift's getting you on the bike, but I hope that you have taken the time to do a threshold test. With a threshold test, since your time is limited anyway, you will at least target your training to specific zones, and that would just really use up your time better, generally. Let's see here. What happened to Frank? Who's Frank? I don't know who Frank is. What's your favorite piece of Rafa clothing? Sheesh. I don't have one. All of them, I guess. They're made well. Right now, I'm on the winter stuff. I moved them to the front of the closet. I got them last season. I picked up a piece last week that I did the review on when it started at Black Friday sale. The stuff sells out so quickly, especially my size. I wear a large, and that's kind of like middle of the range. A lot of cyclists and, wear that from large, medium. They sell out quickly. The XL sticks around. The extra small will stick around. But small, medium, large, if you're in that range and they have it on sale, I just buy them when they're on sale. Even though it was like 35% or so, I just bought it. I'm not going to wait around for it to get to 50 because the sizes will be gone. What's your favorite piece of Rafa? I ended up talking about NV carbon wheels. Do you rate them? I own NV, Howard. They're great wheels. Like all the other carbons wheels are expensive. I like them better because they're quieter. Now, the Zips, they may have improved them. Zips just seem noisy. I had the 2 something, I think 2 something. They call them systems, SES or whatever. That's what I had. Let's see, for the front and yeah. With the NV, you don't have to worry about the balance because they already build that into the way they do their wheels. The front wheel is always smaller than the rear. That's how their systems are. They've done that studies. And so if you're looking for something for an all-around wheel, like for me, I like quick wheels. So I got the smallest one they had, which was 2.5 or something like that. So the middle one is also good all around. Depends on whether you have a lot of crosswinds in your ear or whatever. The deep ones are great for time trials where you're not fighting crosswinds. So you got to focus on what use you're going to put the wheels to. They're too expensive to buy the wrong one for the kind of riding you do, unless you plan on getting multiple sets of them. So that's the key. So he said plenty of 1 to 6%. Yeah. So yeah, 2.5, 4.5 for that kind of riding, you won't go wrong. I think if you're over 150 pounds, you should be okay because how often do you really get gusty crosswinds? It's once in a while. And when it happens, you just hold on to the bars. It will knock you over. You just can't be freewheeling or, hands-free riding. I don't even do that with aluminum wheels. When it's windy, I hold my bars because it will blow you over if it's windy, especially in the rollers. Let's see. My question is, what's a good range to work in when doing training? Space of 20 watts, 30 watts. Well, Garnett, it's hard to say. It depends on what kind of training you're doing. I don't know what kind of training you're in. You need to focus more on what your zones are, whether you're doing watts or heart rate. So you need to work in the zones that you're trying to develop. So if you're doing a base training or if you're doing an endurance ride that day, you have to identify your zones. And of course, it's going to vary. It's not going to be one number. You want to stay in that range. When you start getting stuck on numbers, that's when it becomes more mechanical than riding a bike. That's the reason why I give people zones that you can either be at this At 120 watts or 150 watts, stay in that range. You got a 30-watt range. So if you want to work in larger ranges, that means you're going to be crossing over. So no, you don't do it that way. You have to focus on the zones, not the ranges of watts, because the zones control where you need to work. All right, let's see. Oh, Robert said he meant Frankie. I don't know where Frankie is. He's around. Frankie still supports the channel. He's on Patreon. He's one of our Lion Kings. If you don't see Frankie on the video, that means he didn't show up to ride. The camera doesn't lie. I don't go and knock on people's door to come ride. That's not my role. I just go ride. Okay. So if I go to a ride, you don't see Paul, that means he didn't come ride that day. That's all it is. So Frankie hasn't shown up at the rides for about probably a year, I think. It was last winter we rode with him last when those guys came from California. And we just haven't seen or heard from Frankie. The reason I don't chase people around, I don't want to pressure anybody. Not everybody likes riding in a group necessarily. And everybody has different things and different goals. So that's the reason why I have the rides posted on the website with the events and where we're going to be. You guys saw Joe came from Frisco, Texas, which is 4 hours by car in the Dallas area, and came to ride with us because he looked on the calendar. He saw where we were going to be riding. He said, I'm going to be in town. You guys are going to be riding there. He got the address from there. He just sent us a text. See you guys out there. That's the low maintenance way. I don't have the bandwidth to manage who shows up for rides. Not interested in that. And that's the way most open rides are. You go to a ride and you're not there the next week. The only people who are going to ask for you are your mates that are close to you. The rest of the guys just go ride. They don't care who shows up. That's why most of the rides will say the route and the pace will be determined by who's there. So no, I'm sure Frankie's fine. We just haven't heard from Frankie. Does Frankie still ride? Okay, I already addressed that. I don't know if Frankie's still riding. We just haven't seen him or heard from him. But he's still around because Frankie's one of the supporters. He's one of our super legends on this channel. Let's see. I'm sorry, I just saw the same. No problem. Oh, Jordan Taylor. Jordan, I raced from 1988 to 2002. USCF, I got up to category 2 and went back to category 3 because once I got up to category 2, I found I needed 20 hours a week to keep up with those boys. I didn't have 20 hours a week. I had too much going on. So at category 3, I could do the Cat 3. I could do some of the master stuff, if they would let me, because sometimes they would combine the groups. And then I could also do the 1, 2, 3 races. Once you get to Cat 2, all your races are 90 miles or more. And those boys are like diesels. So it was brutal. And I just needed to ride so much more at that level that I didn't have the commitment and the time for that. But I raced all over the U.S. pretty much, It just got old being in a suitcase all the time. That was the headache. You traveling all the time, So after a while, I was like, I'm going to scale it back down. But I did a lot of races in Houston, Austin, Dallas. We did some races in Keystone, Colorado, and different places like that, Breckenridge area. Well, the mountains are. Biggest problem was the altitude. I would just go cold turkey. I never went early. I did okay, But we didn't spend enough time there to acclimatize ourselves. Let's see. Yes. Yeah. I answered the Frankie stuff. Vince, I got you. Robert cleared that up. Frankie's around. I just didn't want to pressure him. Frankie is former military. Frankie uses riding for therapy. I understand that. And so we've given him a lot of space. So if something's going on with Frankie. We'll figure when he's ready, he'll reach out, All right, let's see. I live in England. It is fun to ride a bike. It's fun here too. Would you ever consider an electronic group set? Yeah, but I won't spend my money on it. If they sent it, I would sure use it. Now, let me qualify that. I think I know why you're asking. I prefer the mechanical. I have not tried the electronic on my bike. I tried it at one of the bike shows and stuff. So they put them on these demo bikes and you use them. They're nice, and we have guys like Mo in the group. The rider, real good rider. He uses it. They're nice to have. I just don't see that much of a difference, really. And several reasons I did not invest my own money in it. When they came out, maybe they're getting better now. The parts, like if you break a front derailleur, it's expensive for that group set, the electronic guys. It just costs more. Okay. And I just didn't see the benefit. When a mechanical group set is tuned properly, it shifts just as well, if not better. In fact, some of the guys that ride with us, and it's not the group set's fault. They don't have it tweaked. So when they shift their electronic, it's noisy. It's like clack. You hear it. The whole group knows they've shifted, but that's because they have not adjusted it. When it's adjusted properly, it shifts really well, but it doesn't shift any better than the mechanical. So why pay more for that? So if somebody gave it to me or I was on a team and it was sponsored, yeah, I wouldn't say no to it. But I'm not going to pay more for something that's not that much of an improvement. I don't believe it is. And in fact, some of the professional riders still ride the mechanical by choice. I just prefer the mechanical. It's easier to deal with, and it shifts just as well. I don't have any problems shifting. So yeah, it's just a matter of preference. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, but I'm not somebody that always believe that because something's new is better. If it's truly better, yeah, I'll be on the bandwagon in a heartbeat. But I just don't see it to spend my own money on it. And don't get me wrong, if I were buying a bike and it came with it and I got a deal, yeah, I'd take it. But I'm not going to go throw away what I have to upgrade to mechanical to get the same performance. Okay, let's see here. Would you ever, let's say, I replaced my cleats recently after they worn out. Now something feels like, can it be getting, no, you don't need to get used to fresh cleats. I'm hoping that you mark the old ones before you replace them. So you might want to tweak Jasper, you might want to tweak the setting on your cleat. Maybe loosen it a little bit on your trainer. Get the bolts a little loose, ride a little bit, see if it settles for you. But yeah, something's off because you don't need to get used to new cleats. They should feel the same. And so I always tell people when you're taking them off, I always use a blade and I mark around it. So I make sure I replicate the same position. Now, the look cleats, some of them have a thing that actually holds the position for you. Some of the look cleats have that. It's like a memory thing. You ever thought of starting a racing team? Not really. It's expensive. You got to pay for travel and equipment and all of that. I haven't given it that much thought. I mean, I don't know. Maybe down the road when the channel gets bigger. That's Garnett. Should a road racer aim to build FTP choosing over long steady ride for the base build? I think SST, steady state or sweet spot. I don't know. If you want to build FTP, you need to ride close to FTP. Now, FTP alone won't make you a champion racer. So at the right times, you need to do workouts where you go over threshold. And so if you're in the winter, you don't build FTP in the winter. If you're in the off season, that's when you build your base, you ride. It is that conditioning that will make your FTP high because you will stay in your aerobic zone longer. So that it comes back to structured training. You have to push yourself at the right time. So in the winter, long before your first race, you don't need to be working on FTP. You need to be riding steadily to condition your body to be able to be on the bike for hours, for whatever the duration of your goal, your race is. So yeah, at the right time, then you start working on threshold, which is your FTP, and you have to be able to go over threshold and recover. Now, all the base work you do will make threshold very high. So you'd have to work harder to get the threshold, which is great because that's what makes you a good racer to where you can go hard before you get the threshold. Whereas the people who skipped base will be already over threshold before you even get there. That's the difference. So it takes patience to really prepare and condition yourself. All right. What do you think about the 12-speed Campac? Yeah, I heard about that thing. It's just another gear. And then the thing is, you got to buy new shifters. It's another investment. It's ka-ching for Campy. Do I need another cog on my bike? No. I never use all the gears on my bike anyway. My favorite gears on my bike is the 16T. And then when I'm climbing, I'm mostly climbing in the 3617 for the most part. And it varies, but I'm using 3 to 4 of those cogs most of the time. Do I need 12? No, because the 7 of them I don't use that much. And it applies to most riders. For the most part, you're on a flat road going fast, you're probably in a 52 or 53, 15 or 14, in a decent cadence. You rarely get into the 12 unless you're going down or in a real fast sprint. So what would I need? An 11 to carry another 11 that I will not use? Or what will I need? A 32? I'd get rid of a cog on my bike, like maybe a 15, and take a 32 on the 12. So no, it's a matter if you're buying a new bike and you want to go with 12 speed, great. But remember now, it's an investment. It changes everything. All my bikes have 11 speed. If I bought one with 12 speed, I couldn't swap the wheels between them. So then you're stuck with that. So yeah, those are the reasons you look at things. So yeah, let them come up with 12, 13 speed. I'm sticking with what I have now. It works fine for me. I don't think it's necessary. They're just doing stuff that's, that's how same thing when they went from 9 to 10 to 11 or whatever. So it's kind of like you try to keep up with those guys, you will go broke. Nomad Triathlete. Thank you, Nomad. I really appreciate it. Nomad super chat. Thank you. Appreciate that. Wow. Mr. Wong, thank you so much. Charlie, would love to see power numbers on your group ride vids. I know, Charlie. Everybody's been asking for that. I'm still looking for the right power meter that I can swap between these bikes without messing up my pedal setup, because I love the Shimano pedals. I know what you mean. It would be good to show you guys that, because I wouldn't be looking at it, because what you're going to see is when I accelerate, you see 800 and some watts. And then when I settle, you might see 250, 300 and something. I mostly ride around 300 watts. I think that's close to like sweet spot for me, something like that. I used to have a power meter, so I got familiar with those numbers. And that's the thing about them. You have them for a while, you get to know your numbers. And then all I do is I would glance. When I start hurting, I would glance and say, why am I hurting? What power number's hurting me? That's the benefit. That's how I used it. If I'm hurting at 400 watts, guess what? Next week, I'm going to be training on my hard day at 400 watts. That's how you use them. And so I would only use it on that hard day. And then the rest of the ride, I just ride. That's the key. Garnett, you're welcome, brother. Garnett, the biggest thing with your training is don't focus so much on numbers. Use the numbers, but also listen to how you feel. Listen to how you feel at 300 watts. Listen to how you feel at 350. That's racing. Listen to how you feel and just use those numbers for reference when you're not feeling good or you're feeling really great. You're like, man, we're flying and I'm feeling great. Let me look at this number. It might say 150 because you got the wind behind you. So you understand. Okay? So don't get hung up on that. Pay attention to how you feel. Race with feel. It's more joyful. And just use the numbers from time to time. Let's see. Would love to see power numbers. Let's see. Thanks. Let's see. Okay. Did you get a chance to use that Endura overshoes? Not yet. Not yet. I might use it tomorrow, but it's not supposed to be very cold. It will be in the 40s here. I'm not worried about that thing. I think it will work fine down to freezing. I don't ride below freezing, guys. I got it simply because at 30, 33, 35 degrees, the dexter was cold. My foot was cold after 3 to 4 hours out there, because for 3 hours, it was okay. The last hour, it was cold. So that's why I got it. Most of my rides are freezing or above. We don't get that cold down here, but it is designed. They call it freezing point. It is designed for that. Let's see here. Virgin Gaming. Hey, Virgin Gaming, how you doing? Did you get a chance of that? Try Power Pod. I'll look at that. Nomad Triathlete. I will look into that. There's a guy named what's his name? He has this site, and his name was just on my tongue. He does a lot of reviews on these things, and I go to his site and I read up because he really is very thorough. I think it's DC Rainmaker or something like that. That's the place I go to read up of what's out there. You know, he does a thorough job of that. Let's see. Thanks for all the great information. I have to go. Yeah, we're going to be wrapping up soon. I'm just thrilled that this is so successful. I wasn't sure how this was going to go. I didn't know that this was a need. Robert Tengler made it clear it was when he got on. That was a nice surprise yesterday. And then today to see everybody coming with their questions, because a lot of these things, I didn't have it when I was racing. And man, you don't know when you're in the dark and you don't know stuff. When you're not sure of what you're doing, that confusion saps your energy when you're racing. When you're sure of what you're doing, you can relax. And so that was the reason when I stopped racing, I started helping people on rides and stuff and explaining stuff to them. And then Paul said, man, I would have conversations with Paul for 3 hours. We'd be talking. And his wife would say, what do you guys talk about? And then Paul would say, I can't handle all this information. You got to open a channel, put it there so I can come and refer to it. So believe it or not, Paul spends a lot of time on the channel watching the videos you guys watch, because he comes and he refers to stuff to basically solidify what he's doing when we're out there riding, you know. So it's kind of like that. So when Paul and I ride, we just ride. And it's based on how he feels and this and that. If he doesn't feel like pulling, he'll sit behind me for a while. And sometimes I'll tell him, get in the wind, man. I'm tired of being up here. You know, so let's see here. Thanks for all the great information. I understand you get better data with dual-sided, but it's literally worth. I don't think so, Chris Roxbury. I think that you can use one and be fine. Team Sky used stages on one pedal for years before they switched to the dual. So, no, I think you can be fine. People start talking about left leg and right leg power balance. Who cares about that? I think you can start with the left one and be fine. I don't know if they make one for carbon. All my bikes have Campy carbon cranks. And I think for a long time, the stages didn't work. Plus, it's glued. So I'd have to buy multiple ones. That's my dilemma. I don't want to keep spending money on power meters because I switch a bike. It doesn't have power on it. So that's why I want something I can easily move around. And somebody just put something on here for me to look at, to check. So I'm going to look into that. Let's see. Understand. Do you go mainly by RPE and the strength of other riders? No, I don't look at other riders. It's just me, Anthony. On the last 100K, I went mainly by feel. I actually felt better. I do feel, and periodically I'll glance. I only glance at my heart rate when things feel too easy for the speed. Then I want to know what my heart is doing, because that's a different muscle. Or if it feels too hard for the effort, like this shouldn't feel this hard, then I glance to see what heart rate am I hurting at, and why am I hurting at this heart rate when it should be easy. That's how I combine it with feel, because I know that if I'm in a certain gear in a certain situation, depending on what training I've been doing, I've been riding long enough to know that, okay, this is supposed to feel 3 out of 5. If it feels 5 out of 5, I need to know why. And sometimes my heart rate will be too high. Maybe something's going on. Like one ride I did, I had a low-grade fever, didn't know about it, but I just had no power in my legs at all. So you never know. That's the reason athletes at races are very nervous when the race is starting. They're not sure. If you've ever been to a competitive event, I know Garnett can speak for that because I think he's racing now. When you get to the race early on, nobody's friendly. After the race, now everybody's smiling and they're more relaxed because now the race is over. Either you've ridden well or you haven't. But at first, you don't know. You've done all the work and you don't know what your body's going to do. That's just the way it is. And they call it butterflies or whatever. So that's just the way it is. You don't know. So that's why it's important to know, okay, yeah, I'm putting out 200 watts, but why do I feel like I'm putting out 800 watts? That's the thing. And then you understand that, hey, I shouldn't be feeling like this. That's the time to back off, because your body in a way is saying today is not the day for you to go that hard. That's why professional racers don't win every race. You're not going to be at your best every ride. If you watch back in the day, Greg LeMond, when they were interviewed, even he was winning races and stuff, he never forecasted. He would always say, let's see how my legs will be going. I always noticed that about him. All the interviews, even before his accident, when he would be at the tour the first year where he knocked and all that drama, he would always say, if I have the legs, because nobody can predict how the body, I don't care what you do. Even the guys that take stuff can't predict. So, that's the thing. So you have to pay attention to while you're putting out the effort, do I feel my best? That's the reason I stress on this channel. Don't go to a ride, pat yourself on the back because somebody got dropped. You don't know why. He may be having a bad day. It doesn't mean you're better than that guy. He's just having a bad day that day. So let's say if it's a stage race, you see the guys in the tour. They'll have a day where they break away and they win and they're on the podium, and then the next day they get dropped. And some of them quit the tour because they did too much that day. You never know. So you got to focus on you. It's only you that matters. What did you do before and what are you doing today? Pay attention to how you feel and how you're supposed to feel. Because if you're firing right, then you're on. Then you continue. If you're not firing right, you back off. You draft. You get crafty. Even during one race, early on you might feel great or early on you might feel bad. But if you hang in, I've won races where I felt like crap early. And then I hung in, and at the end I started feeling great. So you got to be able to adjust. You're feeling great? Yeah, take a pull. You're not feeling so good? Sit in, get a drink, relax, rest up. That's the way you got to adapt. I got that word adapt. I like to hear it because Clint Eastwood used it in what's the movie called? Some Ridge. It's a military movie. The name eludes me right now. He said you need to adapt and overcome. You need to be flexible. So yeah, there are times when you got to let people go instead of killing yourself. That's the key. Okay, let's see here. You don't need power meter. Make your famous VH banana. Oz, a banana bread, right? Yeah, DC Remaker. Yeah, ride the Austin Air. I lived in Austin for 9 years, Alpine and Jester Mountain, 2222, Bee Caves, all that stuff. I was fortunate enough to ride with the Motorola guys in the winter when they would come out there. It was like 96, thereabouts. It was after Lance won the World Championship. They had a training camp there, and we rode with them for a while. So yeah, we rode all those places to Georgetown, all those places we ride out there. Ayo said, you stole my bike. We have the same bike, Ayo. Send Sal for my sister. I don't know what that is. Let's see here. We got a lot of people just typing. I'm going to go ahead and put them in timeout. All right. Hacksaw Ridge. No, I think it's, what was it called? I forgot the name, but some Ridge or so. I forgot it anyway. But it was a good movie. Makes sense. I appreciate the feedback, interaction here, live stream. Okay. Having a carbon frame set with all the metal parts to go with. What is in my priority? The areas you would improve? Yes, wheels. The best upgrade for any bicycle, a nice set of wheels. But, don't take your best wheels to go train with. Save it for your big rides. Get some heavy wheels to train with. Heavy in terms of strong, so you're not by the side of the road dealing with some lightweight stuff. When it's time to train, you want to ride. Heartbreak Rage. There you go, Chris Roxbury. That's what I wanted. I love that movie, Heartbreak Rage. He adapt, overcome. He called it a cluster F. I'm not going to say it. There's a family channel here. You guys know what I mean. I love that movie. Every time it comes on, I watch it. I have it on the DVR recorded. My wife thinks I'm crazy.